Welcome to ArtWorks channel's second episode. Today we're talking about a very good artist indeed. His name is Alonso Delgadillo, also known by the OG fans as El Norteño o Norte. Alonso Delgadillo is a muralist, a painter, a designer, an artist of many trades, a graphic designer by trade and artist by choice. In this episode, we'll get to know him, his background, the evolution, and the many seasons of his art. We will be specifically speaking about his mural for Refined Kitchen here in San Diego, here in Convoy area. Alonso Delgadillo was born in Autlan, Jalisco, to a family of salesmen. His family was in the business of neighborhood mercados or tianguis, sort of like food street markets or central markets as we know them here. At the age of 6, his family decides to migrate to Tijuana, and that's where he grows up and grows his roots. As a child, Alonso loved to draw anything and everything. As opposed to his friends spending their free time watching cartoons or reading comics, little Alonso spent his days at the mercados where his parents worked. He was surrounded by signages, advertisements, lists of items with different fonts and colors, displayed all around. All these visual stimuli would make an impact. Among his friends, he was known as the one that drew. He would sketch and draw over school books or draw random things for his friends. As it was time to go to university, he chose to major in graphic design. It only made sense due to the experience he had of his family operating a business and growing up in the fervent day-to-day life of live commerce. He graduates from university as a graphic designer. Eager to start his career, he rents a small office in TJ, buys equipment, and starts to get everything ready. But something happened. A friend of one of his professors had just returned from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and raved about the city being the mecca of design in Latin America. At the time, Buenos Aires was a powerhouse in design studies. It was internationally acclaimed for the quality of the production of design and designers. Wide-eyed Alonso goes home to Google Buenos Aires, finds a master's program in graphic design, and after a week of deliberating, buys a one-way plane ticket. Little did he know the trajectory of his life would take a drastic turn. As a student, he is impressed by all the specialty studies offered at the school. Degrees in cartoon illustration, children's book, magazine design. He was surrounded by aspiring artists, seeking a career in the arts. He had never been surrounded by people with that vision. To make a living out of his truest passion, the thought lingered. After some time at school, he gets invited to paint walls by a group of international art students. This is when Alonso learns about street art, urban art, and what is it like to paint a mural. Before that, the only other reference he had was growing up in a neighborhood where gang tagging and graffiti was the only thing going on walls. Knowing well that tagging or going over an already claimed wall could literally mean a death sentence. For that, young Alonso did not associate it as something positive, but this time with a group of young artists, he was learning to see it through a different lens. After his first wall, he became so utterly fascinated. He wanted to know more, so he complemented his hands-on learning with the theory and history of it. He would read countless of books about Mexican muralism, learn about the great figures of muralism like Siqueiros and Orozco, among others. He studied the movement, their techniques, their subject matter, and how they executed ideas at grand scale. There was no step back at that point. He was all in. He continued with his master's studies in painting walls with his friends. As his confidence grew, the hustle of his upbringing kicked in, and he attempts to make a living out of his greatest passion. He first went to something that felt like home, the mercados. Spoke to vegetable and fruit vendors, pitched the idea of making signages and visuals for their stands in exchange for produce. He then went to the butcher shop, hostels, and offered his services in order to cover his basic needs. Soon, he became the neighborhood's artist. After completing his master's, a lot is uncertain, but he's sure that graphic design is not it. He moves to Cordoba, a city in central Argentina, and joins a group of artists called Los Muralistas, the Muralists. And together they embark on the journey of making urban street art, not only as a hobby, but as a career. Together as an artistic team, they make themselves known and eventually get commissions for different projects and businesses. They paint the facade of local businesses with eye-catching visuals, resembling a billboard of some sort, or decorating the interior so it reflected a hip vibe. They worked with cafes, bars, stores, and all kinds of business. This was a learning period for Alonso, and it solidified his desire to make a living out of making art, and not only for now, but for the long run. Since his beginnings in Argentina, Alonso signed his work as El Norteño, which was the nickname given to him by other Mexican students, since El Norteño means someone from the north of Mexico. His personal work touched upon the nostalgia of back home. The subject matter revolved about the identity of norteños. He would make friendly characters that represented the north in Tijuana. He wanted people to know that there was much more than the bad reputation that followed TJ, and he was there to bring it to light. After 5 years in Argentina, Alonso comes back to TJ, but he was definitely not the same that left. Alonso was determined to establish an artistic career in his hometown. Continuing his work of representing norteños or the norteño life, once back in TJ, the connection goes even deeper. He used earth tones, different tonalities of browns and yellows and greens and grays. In a very direct way, his art was an extension of the city. Quite literally also, as the paints used were commercial house paints. He would buy them on sale on the side of the road. These were buckets of leftover paint from the big stores. So, without really intending to, his work mirrored the colors of the city. In this period, he dives deep into creating a narrative of his surroundings and of the people that live in it. It was a study of love for the city. He would approach people and talk and get to know them and their stories. Sometimes he would take a picture of them. Other times, they would stay with him and he would do a portrait mural or a character inspired by them. He was very interested in having a connection with the neighborhood he chose to paint in. To him, it was about respect. He wanted to tell a story that came from a real connection. Alonso Delgadillo's art has passed through several phases and periods, but more than that, there are interests, the need to explore new things. Alonso sees that allowing himself to change is a must for his growth as an artist and person alike. After the initial work of norteño characters, by which he became known in TJ, Alonso has transitioned in incorporating a wider color palette, welcoming more vibrant and lively colors. The 2,500 square feet wall space of a Kearny Mesa warehouse was commissioned by Refined Kitchen. The mural is part of a series of works that Alonso has been exploring for years, the interpretations of landscapes or views of natural vast spaces. The work is figurative meets abstract or something in the middle. This one is the landscape of a stunning view of Torrey Pines La Jolla Cliffs. Quoted from Refined Kitchen, "We wanted to do what we love, create beauty in spaces deemed ugly. We wanted a reminder of San Diego's essence in an otherwise great and industrial neighborhood." Alonso's landscapes are not literal depictions of landscapes, but more fragments of memories of how our brains retain memories of spaces. His work is an extensive and very diligent study of the local natural area. All the colors we see on the mural come from the study of the natural colors found in native plants, cacti, flowers, soil, rocks, ocean, and cliffs. All these components, along with the study of light in the area and how the passing of time or the movement of the sun change the colors and the experiences we live in these spaces. Alonso wants to bring the native landscapes back into the city so us, the viewers, can experience that and remember and feel their true essence.
Pero esto que estoy haciendo de los paisajes es una línea, una búsqueda de personal que quiero hablar del tiempo, de mi tiempo, del tiempo que me rodea. Es muy personal, es así, podría decir que es de los trabajos más personales que tengo en los paisajes. Y quiero que la gente los vea como una experiencia personal también, que te traiga un recuerdo tuyo, no de alguien que te mandó una postal. Tú en un lugar caminando solo, cuando disfrutas y te acuerdas, así es como todo mi trabajo creo que aborda la nostalgia de diferentes maneras, siempre. Pero quiero que sea una experiencia de la persona solo con la naturaleza, pues, ¿no? Y yo quiero que se vea así, la gente diga, ¡ay, una florecita! Y claro, ¿y qué te recuerda esa flor, pues, no? Y ese pensamiento es el que quiero provocar en la persona que está enfrente de un mural de estos, pues, ¿no?
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be leaving the information of Alonso Delgadillo down below.